Hey everyone. Today I'm going to talk again with my daughter, beautiful thing, Nikki. And she's going to be joining us for this summit, sharing a little bit of the perspective from a teenager that has been practicing these practices that we are talking about for some years now. And how does she see that working for her? And yeah, we're going to get some tips on how to get your teenager into these type of practices. So, how are you doing, sweetie?
Good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I'm happy to have you back. Thank you for joining us again.
I'm happy to be back.
Awesome. All right. So, yeah, talk with us a little bit about how are those practices for you? Like how do you feel that they help you?
Hmm.
Those daily practices you do.
Well, me being a very energetic person, I've seen that it does help me calm down a little bit because I know that sometimes it's a little bit over the top when you have a lot of energy. So, like, meditating helps you calm down a little bit and, like, kind of center yourself. And yoga helps you, like, it helps with a lot of things, to be honest, like physical things like soreness and just mental things as well, like also calmness because you're just like going through such fluid movements, and like going on walks helps a lot, especially if you have anxiety, because I know from a lot of my friends that when they have an anxiety attack, they can't sit still and like meditate, for instance. So then going on a nice walk and just looking at the nature and stuff really helps them calm down.
Mhm.
So I've seen that like it helps me like kind of quote unquote avoid those type of things because I try to like keep myself in check. It's a lot about the whole not knowing how to take care of yourself properly and whatever that causes anxiety and depression and stuff like that. And also just eating healthy helps you be healthy. I mean, obviously. And like I haven't been sick in years now. Like the last time I remember being sick, I was probably in grade school and I'm at the end of middle school now. So, like, eating healthy and doing those things to keep me mentally and physically healthy has really helped, just in the better good of everyone around me as well. Because then when I'm not sick, I'm happy and the people around me are happy. Because when you're sick, you're kind of down and you don't feel so great. And so the people around you feel like bad for you, kind of, and they start going like down that road too and they feel upset. And it just kind of affects everyone around you. So it really helps when you do things to like daily to make sure that you're in check before you get in contact with other people to make sure that like you're both in check. Do you
Mm.
know what I mean? Like,
I do. Yeah, it's
yeah.
funny that you say that because I don't know if you remember, but Jim, our meditation teacher, had mentioned this before. Sometimes people would come to a group meditation and is struggling to just like make the time to sit and meditate and do what they know they should be doing per se, but like I know it's good for me but I just can't get to it, and that kind of is stuff going on, that kind of a struggle. And Jim would say, if you're having a hard time on self-care and doing it for yourself, do it for the people around you. Do it to be a better parent, a better child, a better person to be around. And I remember that it was like kind of a click for everybody. They would be like, oh, now we're talking, now I'll do it. So it's funny that you mentioned that because it's a thing that even for adults, it helps to get adults into doing the practices that they want to be doing, but it's like they say, I never just get to it. So that's
That
interesting.
Yeah, that's the thing with like trying to get teens my age to do it. We're so like busy like talking to our friends and just doing activities all the time because like when you're a teenager, you want to do everything,
Mm,
right? You want to go to the skate park, then you want to go to the movies the next 5 minutes. You want to do everything. So
mhm,
getting time to like do stuff like this is tricky when you're my age because it's not necessarily something that you would prefer to do than what your friends are doing in town or something like that. So when you do it with someone else, you have this like accountability that goes on, and like it's like in the morning me and you meditate and do yoga together because we both know from experience that when I try to do it by myself, I forget. I get up and I do other things and I just forget. It's not necessarily that I like don't want to do it, which can also play as a factor because for a lot of people sitting still and doing nothing or just listening to someone talk is a lot of work per se because
Uh-huh.
it's so like for me personally, I fidget a lot. So sitting like that is hard to do by yourself. But
Mhm.
when you do it with someone else, there's accountability and then you actually get to do it. And then you get used to it and it's not that much of a hassle anymore. Then you just get up and you're like, oh, okay, day's starting. Let's go meditate and do all this stuff. And it's just kind of your routine. Like now, when my friends have things going on in the morning, which funny enough, I actually started waking up earlier to get everything done so that I could hang out with friends, which is also another option if you're a morning person.
Mhm.
I'm a morning person and a night owl, so it kind of works out. So, and then when my friends want to hang out in the afternoon, I've gotten everything done. I'm myself and I'm in check with myself, right? I'm grounded. So I'm able to go and not come back a completely different person. I'm able to go and help them, because I'm like in check, I'm grounded, I'm connected with spirit. Because then when I go hang out with my friends, I can help them and I can have a good time knowing that I got everything that I have to do out of the way,
Mhm.
like early in the morning.
That's great. So that's a good tip already, right there for the parents, the accountability. So do you want to talk a little bit about that, about tips that you know it could be helpful for these parents watching to get their teenagers into these practices?
For sure. So, starting off with accountability, it's really good to do it with your child or your child to find someone to do it with. Because, like, for instance, it's the whole thing about like your child watches what you do and will end up doing it. If you
Mhm.
tell them to go to their room and meditate, but you're sitting on the couch drinking beer and watching TV, they're not going to do it. It's basically like, I hate to say it, but it's basically like being a hypocrite. You have to do it with them because then they'll want to. They're doing it with someone. If
Uh-huh.
you just tell them to do something but do the opposite, they're not gonna feel interested because they see that you're not doing it. Kids want to do what their parents are doing. If the
Mhm.
parent goes out clubbing every weekend, your kid wants to. They look up to you. So if you like do it with them, they look up to you like, oh, she's doing it, it probably helps.
Mhm.
Because if you just tell them to go do something because they have the problem and you don't, that doesn't really help. They're not going to want to do it.
Mhm.
And another tip that I've become that I've had very useful for me is do it in the morning. If you wait to do it in the afternoon or the end of the day, life happens. Your teenager is going to find someone to hang out with and she's going to be out of the house.
Mhm.
Or he. Life happens. They're going to want to do things. They're going to want to hang out with friends, especially now since it's summer. Everyone is hanging out every single day, all day. So
Mhm.
if you do it in the morning, as soon as you wake up, even wake up earlier if you have to. Like you don't have to wake up as early as everyone else. Just wake up half an hour or an hour earlier. You'll get everything done. And also another thing is forcing your kid to do it. That doesn't really help because from experience, when I'm told to do something, I don't want to do it. If I do it by my own will, I want to do it. But if you tell me, go do this, I don't want to. It's like the whole parent kid thing. If your parent tells you to do something, they don't want to, like right away. Like for me personally, I knew for the longest time that meditation and yoga was good for me, but I never did it because I wasn't doing it with anyone and it was waking up too early and it was just all this hassle. But then if you do it with someone and like you don't force them to, like if they don't want to meditate for half an hour on the first day, that's fine. Let them meditate for 2 minutes. It's a start. At least they're doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Rather than forcing them, help them get to that half hour mark by starting with the 2 minute mark. You
Yeah.
can't go from point one to point five. You have to go to point two, then to point three, then to point four, and then to point five. You can't skip 5 different steps in the whole process.
That's really great. Yeah. And even like we're talking about sometimes for people that are going through anxiety, it can be hard to sit for even a couple of minutes. But then there's so many other things that they can do. Like we're talking about the walks in nature that we do. It's so calming for the system, right? So maybe they can just go, for a walk around the block or something where there's trees and birds and stuff like that to kind of calm your system a little bit, reconnect to nature. That I feel is like the beginning steps, the baby steps to get into a space where you can sit quietly and do nothing for a while and really get deep into meditation. But if the anxiety is coming, and you just go for a quick walk like that, it's like the baby steps, I feel, without forcing, like you said. I feel like
Mm.
it's so helpful. You're right.
Yeah, the walk helps because if you really think about it, it's a different form of meditation. You're in your mind, observing the nature, looking at the birds, hearing the birds sing. There's so many different ways to meditate. And I don't think, like, a lot of people don't understand that. They think meditating is sitting down for an hour doing absolutely nothing.
Hmm.
That's not true. You can do a guided meditation. You can do a walking meditation. There's so many different ways that you can incorporate meditation into your life that make it easier for every different type of person to do it.
Hmm.
If you're a single mom and you're also a business mom and you have to get out of the door, waking up early and maybe taking a quick walk around your whole entire building if you live in an apartment, or just taking a walk down the street and just like centering yourself can be a form of meditation. It
Hmm.
doesn't have to be sitting down doing nothing for like an hour.
Hmm. Yeah, that's right. It can be something fast and easy, and to create that consistency, right? Once you create that consistency and you are used to doing it, it becomes a habit, and then you can expand, go find other practices, other things that you can implement, right?
Yeah, it's also about expecting to do half an hour the first day you meditate.
Yeah.
That's not gonna happen. You're
No.
not used to meditation. It's like a drag if you do it for that long. Do it for 2 to 5 minutes your first time, and eventually you'll work up to doing longer times. Like, I started meditating when I was younger, like in grade school, I started meditating when I was like 8 or 9, I think, right?
Hmm.
So now I'm 13. I'm at the end of middle school. I've been meditating for a super long time. I used to meditate for like 5, 10 minutes. Now I meditate for 45 minutes.
Hmm.
It really just depends on how long you've been doing it. If you try to do 45 minutes your first day of meditating, you're
Yeah.
never going to want to meditate again.
Yeah,
You
that's
have to take it
tricky.
slow. It's the whole thing about the like overachievers, which is really good, but you can't like depend on yourself to do that long on your very first time
Hmm.
because you're not used to it, you know? I
Yeah.
started meditating when I was young, and I remember how much I like disliked it. Like, I did not want to do it whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I knew it was good for me, so I pushed through and here I am today. It worked. I am healthy still. I'm calm, I'm centered. So you just got to push through, really. It's not like you're not going to feel super excited at first, like, oh my gosh, yeah, let's go sit down for 5 minutes and just center myself. You're not going to feel like that at first. You're going to be like, oh, I have to go meditate. It's good for me. So let's go do it. But
Yeah.
if you do it and you push through and do it every single day. Most important part, consistency. You can't do it once a month and think it'll change anything. You
Mm.
have to do it every day, even if it's just for 2 minutes. At least you're consistent with it. And then eventually you'll work up to doing longer and longer, and then it'll just be part of your routine. It's just an everyday thing.
Yeah, it builds up. You're right. Yeah, I started the same way too many years ago when I started meditating. It was very little. I'm just so energetic also. They have so much energy, and to just sit and just be still, it was a drag. And I started also the same thing with a couple of minutes, and just to create that consistency to for those 2 minutes to become part of my routine, of every morning, of every night. And then I started increasing, and then I started implementing different ones, and I have tried all types of meditation and doing it in different times of the day and in different ways, and guided and not guided, and just mindfulness, bringing myself into the now, into the breath. And anyways, it really, you're right, it builds up. You start with that little thing and create some sort of a routine, and it builds up on top of each other. And then when you need to sit, like now, sometimes when I fast, I do sit and I can meditate for like 2 hours, and it's not that much of a drag like it sounds. It sounds like too much for someone that is not used to meditate, but if you're used to sitting still and just staying quiet, 2 hours go by like this. It's like it's really impressive how it builds up. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us, sweetie, for sharing, some tips to help these parents get their kids into into doing some, healthy practices that can help them to manage the anxiety and everything. Any last words for us to wrap it up?
Yes, I have a couple more things to say before we finish.
Okay.
So, one is we're human. Don't beat yourself up if you forget a day or two. Like, personally, I was just at a party for the 4th of July and I didn't meditate or do yoga for the whole time I was there. But I'm human. I was with my friends. I forgot. Get over it and do it again the next day. Very important. We're
I love
human.
that.
We mess up. Okay. I've been doing it for so many years and I forget. I
Yeah.
still forget. It's just the thing, especially when you're a teenager and you go to a friend's house and sleep over, it's hard to remember because you're with your friend and you're like, oh, okay, let's get up, let's go have some breakfast, let's go swim, let's go have fun. So it is a little bit hard to remember when they're with their friends.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're human. Don't beat yourself up about that. And also, just one other quick little tip is healthy eating. That is super important. It causes depression. It's in research. If you eat chips and a hamburger every day for dinner, it's not necessarily the healthiest, but it's how you eat. So you just have to build eating, like add a carrot with your dinner every night. That's how we started. You don't go from super like one way to the next way right away. It's about the whole steps thing. It takes time.
Hmm.
Like when trying to eliminate something out of your diet or add something, you don't just have a full plate of it like right away. You
Yeah.
add it slowly. So start adding like some vegetables, and a lot of people don't like fruits. Try to add a fruit that doesn't really taste like anything, like maybe a banana. Have a banana and just start sorry, just start introducing healthy foods into your diet, and that can help a lot. I can tell you from experience. I eat super healthy now, and I've seen that it helps me stay fit, which is one thing that a lot of teens dislike about themselves is their body weight or the way they look. Eating healthy can definitely help with that. Now, however you eat is totally fine. Just try to add a couple vegetables or fruits or stuff like that.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that tip. Being kind to yourself. It's a process. That's really good, actually. It's really important to remember that it is a process, and sometimes they say it fall out of the wagon, and it's really true. It happens to all of us. Like I eat super healthy for many years now, and every now and then I want to have a sugary something or whatever it is, and it's fine. It's just a process.
Yeah.
The thing is, just like you were saying, the more you can make like the everyday routine, in a sense that it's the way you want to feel, with more clean foods and all of that, so you can feel good about yourself, like internally, externally, and all the ways. Every once in a while, when something doesn't happen the way it's supposed to, like you're saying, you go sleep over somewhere else and then you don't meditate, big deal, like it's fine
Yeah.
as long as it's part of your routine. You should be just fine.
That's the whole thing about being human. If you want to have ice cream, go out and eat it. Don't bring a giant tub into your house. That's how it works for us. You keep everything healthy in the house, but when you go out, you can treat yourself, have an ice cream, have a piece of cake. We still want it. We're human. We want sugar, but you don't like necessarily need it in your everyday meals.
Mhm.
But even though you eat healthy doesn't mean you have to eliminate everything sugary or fatty or processed. You can still have that. It's just better to have it like on the weekends, for instance, instead of every single day.
Yeah, have less of it and more of what's clean and make you feel good about yourself. That's great. Great tip. Yeah, thank you, sweetie. Thank you so much for joining us. It's nice to, like, for the parents to hear this stuff coming from a teenager, to see that there are little ways that you can work around and get them into healthy practices that's going to help them feel good about themselves and calm and, free of the anxiety and all that stuff that our society is creating around us today. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your help and, you joining us with your piece of wisdom. It was quite awesome. Really, really good.
Mhm. For sure. It was a pleasure.
All right. All right. We'll talk soon, I'm sure, sometime talking about something else as well. So, yeah, thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day. You guys enjoy the rest of your days. Thank you for tuning in and being part of this with us. And we'll talk again soon. Bye for now.
Bye.